Good afternoon, everybody. Is this microphone on? First, let me check. Didn't sound like it to me. Okay, there we go. Yep. Okay, thank you. Your Eminence, Archbishop Elpidophoros of America, Your Grace, Bishop Athenagoras, Chief Secretary of the Holy Eparchial Synod that is convened here at Hellenic College, Holy Cross today, honored hierarchs of the Holy Eparchial Synod, Father Lukas of Xenophondos Monastery on Mount Athos, whom we are honored to have here with us today representing the holy community of Mount Athos, President Kantonis, Dean Patitsas of Hellenic College and Dean Parsenios of Holy Cross, Anastasios Douros, Director of the Mount Athos Center in Thessaloniki, the Honorable Mayor of Thessaloniki, Konstantinos Zervos, Chairman of the Mount Athos Center Board of Directors, who is joining us via live stream today, and members of the Mount Athos Center Board of Directors, the Honorable Mr. Simeon Tiegos, Consul General for Greece in Boston, members of the Board of Directors of the Mount Athos Foundation and their families, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm truly delighted today to welcome you all to the ceremonial and celebratory opening of this exhibition, the Mount Athos Ark of Orthodoxy exhibit. To begin with, I call upon His Eminence Archbishop Elpidophoros to lead us in opening prayer and in opening the program.
Στο όνομα του Πατρός και του Υιού και του Αγίου Πνεύματος. Αμήν. Βασιλεύ ουράνιε, παράκλητε το πνεύμα της αληθείας, ο πανταχού παρών και τα πάντα πληρών, ο θησαυρός των αγαθών και ζωής χορηγός, ελθέ και σκήνωσον εν ημίν, και καθάρισον ημάς από πάσης κυλίδος, και σώσον αγαθέ τας ψυχάς ημών. Αμήν.
Thank you, Your Eminence. The opening of this exhibit is a momentous event, and I should say, especially for the Mount Athos Foundation, which is a new institution. And I need to introduce myself first. As president of this organization, my name is Robert Allison, but I share all of the work that's gone into this with the other members of our board of directors and with Anastasios Douros, who has contributed so much to it. This is the first ever collaboration of the Mount Athos Foundation and the Mount Athos Center, and we hope it's the first of many. The opening is a momentous event, as I said, and before introducing our first speaker, I would like to take a few minutes to introduce you all to the Mount Athos Foundation, which we affectionately refer to as MAFA. MAFA was originally conceived of and founded by American members of the Friends of Mount Athos, and many of you, I think, know about that organization, specifically by American membership of the Friends of Mount Athos, for the simple purpose of facilitating tax-exempt donations to support the Holy Mountain. All of us who participated in bringing this foundation into existence in our many different ways have felt blessed by our experience of pilgrimage to the Holy Mountain. And for all of us, creating this foundation was a way of giving back. It was an expression of thankfulness for those blessings so freely given by the fathers of the Holy Mountain and that had meant so much to all of us. Our vision began to come to fruition first when we were incorporated in 2016, and 2 years later, in 2018, when we finally achieved the desired 501c3 status with our IRS. So splitting the difference, we are actually celebrating our 5th anniversary today. Our concept of giving back is expressed in MAFA's two-part mission. The first part of that mission is to be a steady and a reliable source of aid to the Holy Mountain when it is needed. Although Mount Athos is a World Heritage Site and does receive support from the Greek government, from the European Union, those important resources can't provide quick emergency aid when it's needed. To help with things like a sudden leak in a roof that endangers the centuries-old wall paintings within, or to give aid to the smaller historic cells on Mount Athos. In our short history, even though we do not yet have endowed funds to support this mission, MAFA has already accomplished a lot. And that is in part what we are celebrating today. For example, we were able to find or facilitate funds to help Grigoriou Monastery following the 2019 fire that destroyed its electromechanical facility. We were able to contribute to the restoration of the historic Action Estine cell, working with the Friends of Mount Athos. And when you have a chance afterwards, you will learn about the Action Estine cell over here on the Pantocrator panel. We were able to get emergency funds quickly to the Kaliva of the Dormition, a hermitage of Little St. Anne, just this spring when a rock outcropping broke off from the side of the mountain, crushing the dome of the church and damaging its walls. We were able to provide badly needed diagnostic equipment and supplies to the new Mount Athos Health Center at the beginning of the COVID epidemic. We did that working with our sister organization, SAM, S-A-M-M, Supporters of Athonite and Monastic Medicine. The other half of our mission is to promote awareness, understanding, and appreciation of Mount Athos and the Holy Community in the United States. I emphasize understanding and appreciation there because all too often, without that understanding, movements for converting the monasteries into hotels, profiteering touristic programs manage to make the headlines and grab attention and even attract support. For activities that would undermine the monastic life and the culture of the Holy Mountain and the very essence of what Mount Athos is. One of our major activities in support of this part of our mission has been our traveling scholarship program, which has paid for a series of valuable research projects on Mount Athos. I believe one of our scholarship recipients is here today, Lee Morris. If you would stand up. Very good, thank you, Lee. Lee used his scholarship to study monastic ephemeros, the roles and activities of hero monks, that is, priest monks, in the Athonite monasteries. And I hope we'll have a chance to hear more from Lee a bit later. One of the first steps that our foundation took was to establish a partnership with the Mount Athos Center in Thessaloniki. Their mission parallels in many ways our own. The Mount Athos Center prepared these spectacular panels that you see around you today. And we worked together with them to translate the text into English and bring this exhibit here to the Maliotis Center. So this has been quite an amazing project of teamwork. I want to thank Hellenic College and Holy Cross Greek Orthodox Theological School for being our very first host and venue, and the wonderful and talented staff here at the Maliotis Cultural Center for patiently working with us as we worked through all the complexities of creating an exhibition in a collaboration that crossed 2 continents and an ocean. This is designed to be a traveling exhibition, and I hope that those of you who are from away, as we say in my home state of Maine, and those watching our live stream of this opening will be excited at the possibility of bringing this exhibit to your own part of this great country, and that you will contact us if you would like to be on the itinerary for this exhibit. This event has already begun to have an impact. even before today's opening. And it has begun to enhance awareness of the Mount Athos Foundation and its mission. On the very eve of this opening, we received a completely unexpected gift of $100,000 from someone that none of us had even met before or known of. It's our first major donation, so it's a very exciting moment for the foundation. This gift will enable us to join with our sister organization, the Friends of Mount Athos, in assisting the Action Estine Cell and the Kaliva of the Dormition, both of which have major projects still ahead of them of restoration and repair, as well as to make a start toward building an endowment for our emergency aid fund. I hope as more people get the chance to view this exhibit here and across the country, many will likewise feel inspired to give back in this way. The theme of these opening events is Reflections of a Day on Mount Athos. Just as on the Holy Mountain, everything will stop for Vespers when the Sementron sounds. You'll learn about the Sementron in a couple of the panels here which deal with aspects of life on the Holy Mountain. I think, though, to introduce the idea of the Sementron, I might tell you a brief story from my own years of working at Philotheo Monastery on Mount Athos, where together with my colleague today, Konstantinos Dolmas, who is our liaison officer in Greece, we are preparing a catalog of the monastery's manuscripts. One day, early in this project, long before Konstantinos began working with me, I was at work describing a manuscript in the library, which in those days was in the tower of Philotheo Monastery, for those of you who know the monastery. The librarian, Father Lucas, who's not the Father Lucas with us today, different Father Lucas, was with me as always, and when I came across in the margins a note and read it, I had to share it with him. It read, "Otanakuis to semantron treche." And now those were practically the very same words that Father Lucas told me every day as Vespers was approaching and I had to begin gathering up my papers and putting the books away. And from that day on, whenever the Sementron sounded for Vespers, Father Lucas and I would recite those words together. Otanakuis to semantron treche. So today, as part of our reflections of a day on Mount Athos, when the hour for Vespers is upon us, you will hear the sound of the Sementron, followed by the bells calling us all to Vespers. If we stay on schedule, that will occur at the end of the period for socializing and viewing the exhibit that follows our afternoon session. Following Vespers, as on Mount Athos, we will go directly to Trapeza, that is, to the refectory, or here to the dining area, which is set up in the atrium on the ground floor. Although we are celebrating the 5th year of this foundation, and it is a celebratory moment, we have also just finished remembering the sad events of 9/11, and we cannot forget that this is also the 100th anniversary of the catastrophic burning of Smyrna, the Katastrophiti Smyrnis, of September 13 to 17, 1922. So just as the Athonite Fathers remember every single day, and especially in Vespers, the saints and the martyrs of the past, let us during Vespers remember with heartfelt prayers those who suffered in those cataclysmic events. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Mount Athos Foundation, I thank you all wholeheartedly for joining with us in this celebration today. I hope you will enjoy the exhibition and our program and find your lives enriched by the experience of perusing this exhibit. It is my very great pleasure now to invite to the podium the director of the Mount Athos Center, who has come from Thessaloniki to be with us today, our partner in the development of this exhibition, and our dear friend, Anastasios Douros. Okay, before Anastasios joins us, I would like to invite to the podium Father Lucas to extend the greetings of the Holy Community to all of us. Patera Luca.
Θα σας απευθύνω τον χαιρετισμό της Ιεράς Κοινότητος για την έκθεση αυτή. Η Ιερά Κοινότης του Αγίου Όρους Άθο, μετέχουσα εις το Διοικητικό Συμβούλιο της Αγιορητικής Εστίας, ασμένος επιθυμεί απευθύνει θερμών χαιρετισμών, μήνυμα εις τα εγγένεια της παρούσης εκθέσεως, προς την εντάφταση ελθούσαν εκλεκτήν ομίγυριν. Αναμφιβόλως ο Ιερός Άθος από τους πλέον προβεβλημένους ιερούς τόπους της Ορθοδόξου Χριστιανικής ημών πίστεως, με τα σεβάσμια μνημεία και την ζώσαν παράδοσή του, κατέχει μοναδικήν θέση στον χώρο της Χριστιανικής Ανατολής. Το φυσικό περιβάλλον, η αρχιτεκτονική, τα κοιμήλια, τα ιερά λείψανα, εθαυματουργοί εικόνες, εψαλμοδίε, πολύωρη ακολουθία, η εν το άθο καθημερινή ζωή, υπογραμμίζουν το γεγονός της ενότητος εν Χριστώ, ενότητος πνεύματος, πολιτισμού, θεσμών, ενότητος λειτουργικής και μυστηριακής. Η ορθόδοξος παράδοσης, την οποία μας εκκληροδότησαν οι προημών, εναρμονίζει και ισορροπεί μεταξύ του υλικού και του πνευματικού, του ορωμένου και του μη ορωμένου, του αισθητού και του επέκεινα, του κτιστού και του ακτίστου. Μέσα από αυτό το πρίσμα η μοναχική ζωή είναι δυνατόν να γίνει θεολογία και δοξολογία του τριαδικού Θεού, ο οποίος έδωσε την δύναμη, την έμπνευση και την φώτιση, αλλά και θεωρία της ενότητος, η οποία υπερβαίνει πάσαν φυλήν και γλώσσαν, μυστικός και αενάος επιτελουμένη εις το ιερόν περιβόλαιον της Κυρίας Θεοτόκου. Συγχαρητήρια αξίζουν εις τους διοργανωτάς της παρούσης εκδηλώσεως, εις το Ίδρυμα Mount Athos Foundation of America, δι' την ανάδειξη και προβολή της πολιτιστικής κληρονομιάς του Αγίου Όρους εν Αμερική, ως και εις τον σεβασμιότητον Μητροπολίτης Αμερικής Κύριων Ελπιδοφόρων, δια την εν γέννη στήριξη και έμπνευση, την οποία δαψιλώς παρέχει. Η Ιερά Κοινότης διαβιβάζει τα θερμάς αυτής ευχάς και επικαλείται την ευλογία και την χάριν της εφόρου του Αγίου Όρους Κυρίας Θεοτόκου επί πάντας ημάς. Άπαντες οι εν τη κοινή συνάξη αντιπρόσωποι και προϊστάμενοι των 20 ιερών μονών του Αγίου Όρους Άθο.
Your Eminence, Honorable Consul General, dear Mr. President, Reverend Fathers, dear friends. To begin with, I would like to convey to you the greetings and good wishes of the Mayor of Thessaloniki and President of the Mount Athos Center, Mr. Konstantin Zervas, as well as the other members of our administrative board. All of them would have very much liked to be with you today, but unfortunately, their many commitments and the great distance from home have prevented them from being also able to do so. Allow me to begin by providing you with some basic information about our organization. The Mount Athos Center was created in the year 2000 by the municipality of Thessaloniki and the whole community of Mount Athos, and is essentially the continuation of the impressive Treasure of Mount Athos exhibition that was held in Thessaloniki in 1997 as part of the city's Cultural Capital of Europe celebrations. The center is located at 109 Egnatia Street in the center of Thessaloniki and is housed in the Nedelkos Mansion, a listed building designed by the leading architect Xenophon Peonidis. which was granted to the center by the municipality of Thessaloniki as a base for its activities. Today, the Nedelkos mansion houses the center's administrative services, a bookstore, a library, the center's archives, an exhibition space, and the Mount Athos Pilgrims Bureau, while in spring, summer, and early fall, a secret garden at the rear of the building hosts a variety of activities organized by the center or other organizations in the city, including exhibition, musical events, and talks. The Mount Athos Center is administered by a 7-member board of directors, which is presided over by the mayor of Thessaloniki and has as its honorary president the Protepistatis, the chief representative of the Holy Epistasia of Mount Athos. Of the board's 6 other members, 3 are appointed by the municipality of Thessaloniki and 3 by the Holy Community of Mount Athos. The position of vice president is held by one of the directors appointed by the Holy Community. The main aim of the Mount Athos Center is to promote and highlight the cultural and spiritual heritage of the Athonite Republic, and this is achieved through a wide range of activities, such as exhibitions that are presented both in Greece and abroad, international conferences, seminars, and international scientific workshops, as well as the center's publishing program, which is constantly being enriched, the management of archives relating to Mount Athos, and many other activities. Special mention should be made of the Ecumenical Patriarch, His Beatitude Bartholomew, who, as the true spiritual father of the Holy Mountain, has from the moment of the center's foundation stood by us, conferring and continue to confer his blessings on our work and activities. Mount Athos, the Ark of Orthodoxy. The late departed Callistos Ware, who dearly loved the Holy Mountain and visited it on many occasions, once said of this place, "It is not just a mountain of holy monks. It is not just a mountain of holy monasteries and shrines. It is, in itself, a holy mountain, a point of light in sacred space, a sacrament of God's presence with humankind, a burning glass concentrating the rays of the spiritual sun and a special intensity. Indeed, a theophany. For me, Athos means all these things." Mount Athos is indeed a unique place. It is the Ark of Orthodoxy and the global center of Orthodox monasticism. Its mythical dimension, its uniqueness, its spiritual radiance, and its cultural wealth have always drawn large numbers of foreign visitors who have sought to gain an otherworldly experience there and receive answers to deep inner questions. For Orthodox pilgrims, Mount Athos constitutes the bedrock of their faith. Every year, hundreds of thousands of pilgrims cross the border into Mount Athos from Uranoupolis with the aim of venerating the miracle-working icons and the holy relics. Most of them choose to spend a few days with the monks, absorbing the grace and serenity of the elders, in the hope of making contact with the heavenly realm so that they can return to the outside world with their batteries recharged, as many of them characteristically say. Through the simple lives they lead on the Holy Mountain, the monks aspire to transcend the bounds of human nature, and through their prayer and spiritual practice they are transported to a world which is above and beyond the needs of the human body. What they experience is predominantly spiritual state. It could be said, therefore, that the monks of Mount Athos dwell in this blessed place in a state between heaven and earth. The Holy Mountain is a great blessing for us all, indeed for the whole world. We who serve it derive great joy from doing so, and it is this joy that we wish to share with you, through the event we have organized today. The exhibition that we are running today, together with the events which are to follow later, is one of the most important activities that the Mount Athos Center has organized to date. In the past, we have organized many events in countries outside Greece, but this is the first time that we have crossed the Atlantic Ocean and find ourselves on hospitable American soil. And I must admit that this development gives us immense satisfaction. We are sure that this event is just the beginning, the first step. And as our great poet Konstantin Kavafis says, to have reached this step is no small achievement. What you have done already is a wonderful thing. None of today's events would have been possible without the collaboration of the Mount Athos Foundation of America and the wonderful people who lie behind this organization. Our initial contact, which took place several years ago, and the plans we discussed at that time, have developed into an excellent and important collaboration. And now, I must admit that we regard the Foundation as one of our closest associates. Both the event which we are presenting today and the translation and publication of the Compendium of Athonite Saints, a publication that presents all the saints that have lived on or passed through Mount Athos, and is being founded by the Mount Athos Foundation of America, are two important events of which we are very proud. We wholeheartedly thank the Foundation for the part it has played in making them possible. Personally, I would like to thank Professor Robert Allison, the President, and Chris Mellon, the Secretary of the Mount Athos Foundation of America, for all the hard work they have put into preparing and organizing today's event, and for doing so in such a friendly, cooperative spirit. I would like also to thank Konstantinos Dolmas, a member of MAFA who has supported us and whose assistance has proved extremely useful. Of course, thanks are also due to all the members of MAFA. I should also like to express my gratitude to my colleagues in Thessaloniki, Maria Giannelou, Yannis Liapis, and Thanasis Georgiou, who have worked with such enthusiasm to realize such an important venture. I should also like to thank the President, Mr. Kadonis, and Mrs. Chrysoula Kourkounti, and all their colleagues for their very generous assistance in the organization of the exhibition in the hospitable surroundings of the Maliotis Cultural Center. Of course, I should not omit to thank the Hieromonachos Lukas of Xenophontos Monastery, who represents the whole community of Mount Athos and has traveled from New York, where he has recently been engaged in painting the Church of St. Nikolaos at Ground Zero. My warm thanks go to him, as he is always so supportive of the work of the Mount Athos Center. Finally, we are very grateful to His Eminence Elpidophoros, Archbishop of America, for his support of both the Mount Athos Center and the Mount Athos Foundation of America, and for blessing us with his presence here today. And right now, please, the President, Robert Allison, and Chris Mellon to come here with us, because we would like to give a present to Holiness. Το έκανε για εσάς, για όλη την αγάπη, και είναι ένα δώρο που είναι και από την Αγιορτική Εστία και από το Mount Athos Foundation of America. Thank you very much. May the grace of our blessed Lady, who has called Mount Athos her garden, be a source of strength and support for the whole world. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Να είστε καλά.
Thank you, Anastasia. The next part of our program is to welcome again Father Lucas to the podium. We just heard about the work that Father Lucas has been doing in New York City, so some of my words were taken away from me. I think from that he is probably known to almost everyone here. So Father Lucas, if you would come to the podium again, we look forward to hearing from you.
Σεβασμιότατε, Άγιοι Αρχιερείς, αγαπητοί αδελφοί, η μοναστική πολιτεία του Αγίου Όρους, ο Ιερός Άθωνας, είναι ένας χώρος υπερβατικός. Εκεί δεν γεννάται ποτέ κανείς, αλλά αναγεννάται αυτός που επιθυμεί να συμπορευθεί μετά του Θεανθρώπου Ιησού Χριστού στη θυσιαστική του πορεία. Μια πορεία όπου η θυσία, το ρίσκο, η έξοδος από τα εύκολα είναι συγχρόνως και ένα άνοιγμα στην ομορφιά. Ίσως γι' αυτό τα μοναστήρια είναι συνυφασμένα με το κάλος, με την φιλοκαλική ή καλλιτεχνική απόπειρα πρόγευσης ταπεινής αθανασίας. Δεν είναι τυχαίο που τα μοναστήρια είναι ο χώρος όπου άνθησαν όλες οι τέχνες, τα έλεγα περισσότερο από αλλού. Εδώ αντιγράφηκαν όλα τα αρχαία κείμενα και τα πατερικά αργότερα, που ήταν έτοιμα να τα αφανίσει η φθορά και τα διάνθησαν με περίφημες μινιατούρες και τα έκαναν εικαστικό θαύμα. Εδώ οι ψαλμοδίες τελειοποιήθηκαν και διασώθηκαν. Εδώ τα τελετουργικά των ακολουθιών παρέμειναν αναλύωτα για να μας καταδεικνύουν την άρνηση της φθοράς και του θανάτου και να υπενηχθούν το αέναον της ουρανίου ιεραρχίας. Εδώ η σχέση του χώρου με τον χρόνο παίρνει άλλες διαστάσεις. Το παρελθόν, το παρόν και το μέλλον αλληλοπεριχωρούνται. Ο τόπος αγιάζεται και συνομιλεί με τον ουρανό. Τα άνω της κάτω συνεορτάζει, τα κάτω της άνω συνομιλεί. Και δεν είναι μόνο των φτασμένων πνευματικά μοναχών αίσθηση και διαπίστωση. Ακόμη και η ανυποψία στη λαϊκή, μπαίνοντας στο καραβάκι της γραμμής από την Ουρανούπολη, αφήνουν τον κόσμο πίσω τους και ανοίγονται στο μυστήριο που εκείνη τη στιγμή ξεκινά. Τα παμπάλαια κτίρια, τα ωραία ερείπια, οι σκεπτικοί μοναχοί, τα απαράκλητα βράχια, μα πιο προπαντός τα κημητήρια, του βουνού ο πυθμένας όπου θάλουν οι νεκροί άνθη της αύριον. Ο ξερός ήχος του ταλάντου, η βραχνή φωνή του γεροδιαβαστή, η απόκοσμη μελωδία των ψαλτών συνθέτουν τις νότες της υπερβατικής μουσικής αυτού του τόπου. Η ατέρμονη αγρυπνία, οι ξεθοριασμένες στιχογραφίες, η Μεγάλη Εβδομάδα, το μάζεμα των φασολιών, το σκιερό μονοπάτι μας οδηγούν σε τόπους υπερφυσικούς. Ένας τέτοιος υπερφυσικός τόπος είναι και ο πανίερος ναός του Πρωτάκτου, ένας ναός θρύλος. Ακόμη και η όψη του εξωτερικά πλησιάζοντας σε δημιουργεί ένα δέος, κάποιο αίσθημα απορίας, φόβου, μυστηρίου. Ίσως να μπερδεύω τον αναγνώστη προσπαθώντας να ξεδιπλώσω τα αισθήματα που διακατέχομαι από την πρώτη φορά που με αξίωσε ο Θεός να φτάσω ως εκεί πριν 45 περίπου χρόνια. Για μένα βέβαια αυτό που στεκόταν σαγηνευτικό ήταν η συνάντησή μου με τον Πανσέλινο. Πήγαινα όχι απλά για να θαυμάσω τις στιχογραφίες του, αλλά να τον ξετρυπώσω κάπου εκεί στοιχειωμένο πάνω σε κάποια άειλη πια από τον καιρό σκαλωσιά που ακουμπά στους ουρανούς, φτιάχνοντας τις αέρινες εκείνες ζωγραφιές του. Και μπαίνοντας στο Πρωτάτο, πραγματικά είχα την βεβαίωση ότι ήταν εκεί. Τον είδα μπροστά στον ένθρονο Χριστό να ξεναγεί κάποιους προσκυνητές. Αργότερα έμαθα ότι αυτός δεν ήταν άλλος από τον γέρο Ιερόθεο, τον φημισμένο εκκλησιαστικό και διακονητή του Πρωτάτου. Κάπως έτσι πίστεψα πως θα ήταν ο Πανσέλινος, ξεμαλιασμένος, ξυπόλυτος, ποιητής, όπως αυτός ο απαράμιλος. Εξηγούσε λοιπόν σε εκείνους τους απορριμμένους προσκυνητές και προσπαθούσε να τους μοιήσει στον κόσμο του Πανσελίνου, και ήταν τα λόγια του προέκταση των τοιχογραφιών, γεμάτα πάθος, εικόνες παρά λόγια, περιφρονώντας τη σκέψη ότι ήταν μάταιος κόπος να εξηγεί τα ενεξήγητα σε ανίδεους λαϊκούς. Είχε το όρος τότε μεγάλο πλούτο που σε ξάφνιαζε. Έξω στα πεζούλια του Πρωτάτου έβλεπες κάποιους απόκοσμους καλόγερους να κάθονται και να συλλογιόνται, να αναμετρούνται με τη φθορά, να συνδιαλέγονται με τον Θεό. Αυτά τα ίδια πρόσωπα θα στάθηκαν πηγή εμπνεύσεως για τον μέγα μαΐστορα της ζωγραφικής, τον Μανουήλ Πανσέλινο. Ο Άγιος Νίλος ο ασκητής κάποια βαθιά έννοια τον βασανίζει μέσα στη μακαριότητά του. Ο Άγιος Θεόκτιστος υπομονετικός και ευγενής. Ο Άγιος Παύλος εν το λάτρο σαν τον Σοκράτη φιλοσοφεί για το εν ο εστί χρία. Ο Άγιος Πέτρος ο Αθωνίτης αποτυπώνει πάνω του την καρτερία. Ο Άγιος Αθανάσιος ο Αθωνίτης ζέων το πνεύματι θεσμοθετεί την αθωνική πολιτεία. Ο Άγιος Ιωάννης ο Συναήτης ανάμεσα από τα σπαράγματα της τοιχογραφίας φαντάζει ακόμη πιο διεισδυτικός αλλά και πιο συμπαθής ο αυστηρός αυτός πατέρας. Ο Άγιος Κοσμάς ο ποιητής συνέλαβε μόλις τον καινούριο του κανόνα. Πρόσωπο καταυγασμένα από το άκτιστο φως, πρόσωπα που σου μεταδίδουν την εμπειρία του καινού μεταμορφωμένου ανθρώπου, που με απαράμιλο τρόπο συνέλαβε ο μεγάλος ζωγράφος. Τους γνωρίζεις από καιρό στα πρόσωπα όλων αυτών των γερόντων που γυροφέρνουν εκεί. Τα ίδια όπως και τότε που ο Πανσέλινος ζωγράφιζε, απορρίπτοντας με τρόπο απαράμιλο την φθορά του το κότος ανθρώπου. Αισθάνεσαι οικία κοντά τους. Θα κατέφθαναν τις Κυριακές από τα πέριξα σκυταριά τους για τη Θεία Λειτουργία. Τα ξαπόσταιναν στα ίδια πεζούλια και να, σαν τώρα θα ξανάρχισαν τη συζήτηση για κάποιον νεοφερμένο Βαρλάμ που ήρθελε να τους πει καινούργιες θεωρίες. Να, λίγο πιο εκεί ο Άγιος Γρηγόριος ο Πολαμάς, ο Άγιος Νικηφόρος ο Ησυχαστής, ο Άγιος Κάλιστος, ο Άγιος Μάξιμος ο Κορσοκαλύβης και τόσοι άλλοι που άφησαν εκεί ανεξίτηλη τη σκιά τους. Ετούτες οι πέτρες δεν βολεύονται παρά μόνο στο φως. Τι χρόνια και τότε η αυτοκρατορία συρρυκνώνεται, η θεολογία ανθεί, η τέχνη απογειώνεται, τα βάσανα πληθαίνουν και συλλογέται κανείς. Μα τι γίνεται εδώ τέλος πάντων? Μα μήπως η τέχνη σε τέτοιο έδαφος καρποφορεί? Μήπως αυτή είναι η νομοτέλεια της έμπνευσης? Μπορεί σήμερα ο βυζαντινός κόσμος να φαντάζει στα μάτια μας περίεργα γιατί δεν μπορούμε να μπούμε στην ψυχή του. Από τον ξεσηκωμό ενάντια στην άδικη εξορία του Χρυσοστόμου μέχρι την οικονομαχία για να καταλήξουμε στις ησυχαστικές έρηδες που από τον Άθωνα εφούντωσαν, φανερώνουν την φλόγα της πίστεως και την δύναμη του συναισθήματος που τον οδήγησε σε εκπληκτικά ευρήματα, αναδυόμενα από τα κατάβατα της συγκινήσεως, από την πάλη με το θείον. Αλλά ο καιρός είχε τα γυρίσματά του, η αυτοκρατορία έπεσε. Μπορούσε πια να πέσει εφόσον είχε πει τον τελευταίο λόγο της, και αυτός ήταν ο ύμνος στην ωραιότητα, ένα κύκνιο ενάσμα στην εικόνα. Γι' αυτό η ζωή συνεχίζεται. Το Άγιον Όρος συνεχίζει και θάλει. Η στιχαστική παράδοση ανθεί ακόμη περισσότερο και η τέχνη βρίσκει το βηματισμό της με άλλη μια αναγέννηση, την αναγέννηση της κριτικής σχολής. Ο Θεοφάνης ο Κρίς καταφθάνει στο Άγιον Όρος κατά τον 16ο αιώνα και ιστορείται καθολικά των μονών με γης της Λαύρας και Σταυρονικήτα. Ιδιαίτερα στη Μονή Σταυρονικήτα ο επηρεασμός του από το Πρωτάτο είναι εμφανής, αλλά η δημιουργική του δύναμη αφομοιώνει υγιώς το παλαιό και εκφράζει επιτυχώς την προσωπική του έμπνευση. Στην συνέχεια η ίδια σχολή θα αφήσει το αποτύπωμά της και στα καθολικά των μονών Διονυσίου, Δοχιαρίου και Σιμωνόπετρας. Βέβαια, τις τελευταίες μονής στιχογραφίες καταστράφηκαν από πυρκαγιά και μόνο κάποια σπαράγματα διασώζονται. Αν και θα περίμενε κανείς την περίοδο της τουρκοκρατίας να προκαλεί μια κάποια καθίζηση στα καλλιτεχνικά του Αγίου Όρους, παρόλα αυτά η τέχνη την περίοδο αυτή παρουσιάζεται παραλλαγμένη μεν, αλλά ιδιαίτερα δημιουργική, χωρίς σύγνους μιζέριας και ητοπάθειας. Το Άγιον Όρος ζει με ιδιαίτερα ελπιδοφόρα πνοή και αυτό αποτυπώνεται με ενάργεια στην τέχνη. Η μουσική αυτής της περίοδου, όπως και στην Κωνσταντινούπολη, έτσι και στο Άγιον Όρος, αφήνει λαμπρό αποτύπωμα με μουσικές συνθέσεις που μέχρι σήμερα χαρακτηρίζουν την υμνολογία μας. Ακόμη και η αργυροχοΐα ανθεί ετούτο τον καιρό για να φτάσει μέχρι τις μέρες μας. Μετά τον 16ο αιώνα και το τέλος της κριτικής περίοδου εμφανίζονται αγιογράφοι που συνεχίζουν την παράδοση με τον δικό τους προσωπικό λαϊκίζοντα τρόπο και αγιογραφούνται κάποια καθολικά όπως της Μονής Γρηγορίου, Ξηροποτάμου, καθώς και στις σκήτες των Καυσκολευίων, της Αγίας Άνης, του Ευαγγελισμού της Θεοτόκου και πλήθος άλλων κελιών. Είναι αξιοπρόσεκτο ότι όλη αυτή η καλλιτεχνική δραστηριότητα είχε μια συνέχεια, ήταν μια σκηταλοδρομία που ομαλά και φυσιολογικά μετέβαινε από τη μια περίοδο στην άλλη, φανερώνοντας έτσι την υγιή πορεία της εξέλιξης που οφείλει να έχει η τέχνη. Εκεί που νομίζω κατά την ταπεινή μου άποψη παρουσιάστηκε μια ανώμαλη εξέλιξη είναι κατά τον 19ο αιώνα και αρχές του 20ου, όπου η ρωσική επέλευση επηρέασε αρκετά βάνασα την τέχνη και γενικά το Άγιον Όρος, από την ζωγραφική μέχρι την αρχιτεκτονική και όχι μόνο. Σήμερα, μετά την παρουσία του Φώτη Κόντουλου στο Άγιον Όρος και σε όλη την Ελλάδα βέβαια, έχει πνεύσει άνεμος αναζωογονητικός που μας συνδέει με την παράδοσή μας και θέλω να πιστεύω πως με την γνώση και εμπειρία που συσσωρεύεται να αξιοποιήσουμε την μεγάλη παράδοση που παραλαμβάνουμε, να την αφομοιώσουμε και να αποδώσουμε καρπούς αξίους για να κοσμήσουν την Εκκλησία του Χριστού. Ο μορχισμός δεν αντιφάσκει όταν συνδιαλέγεται με την τέχνη. Ένας πατέρας της Εκκλησίας, ερμηνεύοντας την Ευαγγελική παραβολή των ταλάντων και παραλληλίζοντάς την με τα χαρίσματα που κοσμούν την Εκκλησία ως μέλη εκ μέρους, αναφέρει πως κάθε χάρισμα μπορεί να αντιπροσωπεύει είτε τον οφθαλμό, είτε το χέρι ή το πόδι του σώματος της Εκκλησίας, όπου η κεφαλή είναι ο Χριστός. Το χάρισμα της μοναχικής κλήσεως και αποστολής το παραλληλίζει με την κόμη της κεφαλής. Μπορεί τα άλλα μέλη του σώματος της Εκκλησίας να έχουν κάποια χρησιμότητα, η κόμη όμως δεν έχει καμία. Το μόνο που κάνει είναι να κοσμεί την κεφαλή. Αυτός ο κόσμος είναι η ομορφιά που χωρίς αυτή δεν μπορούμε να ζήσουμε ούτε να σωθούμε και οφείλουμε να την διακονούμε, ιδιαίτερα εμείς οι μοναχοί, για να είμαστε συνεπείς στην αποστολή μας και να βγαίνει στο τέλος το δικό μας οσανά ως ύμνος δοξολογικός στον Κύριο και Θεό μας Ιησού Χριστό. Ευχαριστώ.
What would we do without our computers? Thank you, Patera Luca. We have with us today also for our second presentation, Anastasia Merkel, who is the mother, as we saw in the program, of a monk on Mount Athos today. And Anna, I have to say my special thanks to her. She has worked very hard with the staff here at the Athos Center, handling all of the arrangements with our caterers, so you will especially appreciate her at the banquet tonight too. But now you have a chance to listen to Anna, who has shared so much and knows so much about Mount Athos from her own perspective as a mother.
Your Eminence, Archbishop Elpidophoros of America, Your Graces, Reverend Fathers, honored guests, thank you very much for having me here today. Well, this journey started long before my son was ever born. In fact, I believe it was imprinted in my heart long before I was even aware of it. I am the first generation of two people who came from Crete. They raised me in the church, Sunday school, Greek school, dance. I had to kiss my father's hand before going to church on Sunday and ask for forgiveness. You see, my mother comes from a long line of priests in Crete. Long before the Ottoman Empire, there was a priest every generation. In 1970, that stopped, unfortunately, when my father passed away. And my Theo Yorgo, who had finished his military service, came to America to be with my mother, at the time a young widow with 2 young children. Little did we know at that time God had plans to continue this tradition sometime in the future. My husband is a military man, career, an officer. He's also an All-American. He's the first American to come into my family. If you can think of my big fat Greek wedding without the drama, but with the joy of learning the faith and the culture, that was our experience. He embraced the faith, he converted. I had to learn about the military. I knew nothing about it. All I knew was from a show called Gomer Pyle. I'm dating myself. So I immersed myself in that world that I didn't understand to support a man wearing a uniform in service of our country, in service what he believed was something greater than himself. I started to train other women and mothers to understand the mission of their husband in this service. Again, little did I know that this experience was training me to understand someone who will be wearing a different uniform in a much greater service. We started a family. We have 3 beautiful children. Like me, I took my children to church, dance, Hellenic College, St. Stephen's Camp, and they were very active, very social at school and as well as at church. At one point, my son, my middle son, came home and he was about to graduate. He says, I want to study theology at Hellenic Cross Holy College. I was thrilled. The tradition continues. We're going to have another priest in the family. When he came here, he and a group of students went to Mount Athos to experience Holy Week at the Holy Mountain. He came back transformed. He was serious now about his studies. He goes, I want to go there and I want to study not only more about my faith with these monks, but I want to study Greek. So he went to Thessaloniki at Aristoteliou University. We supported this. Every once in a while I would ask him, you're not thinking about staying there. No, I just want to be immersed in this and I'm going to come back. When he did come back, however, I thought, great, he's going to go back to Boston and finish his studies. That was not the case. He goes, Mom, I've decided I am going to stay there. I am being pulled to this service and I want to do this in Mount Athos. He goes, I can't explain it. I wish I had Father Luca's presentation here at the time so I would fully understand what it meant to do this. I did not have that. So as an American mom who knew little to nothing about monasticism, let alone Mount Athos, I became scared. My husband, on the other hand, was very supportive. He understood what it is to be called to serve. And I'm grateful that he was supportive because he helped me through the process of understanding what it is my son was preparing to do. But I'm a mother, and all I felt was I'm going to lose my son. And I had such great guilt. Here I am. I grew up in the Greek Orthodox Church. I was taught to live that life. I was always on my children to go to church, take communion, learn about the saints, go to Sunday school. And here my son says, I want to serve in this capacity. And I was like, no. It was a paradigm. So what did I do? The same thing I did when I didn't understand the military life and what that uniform meant. I immersed myself deeper into our faith and what it meant to be a monastic. I talked to our priests. I went to the monasteries here, and they were very helpful, very helpful. It wasn't until it was time for me to go visit my son in Greece. He had the blessing from his Geronda. He had just had his kura, his tonsure, and he had a new name. I was very nervous. I asked that before I go, as we do in the military, the spouses get together and we support each other as our husbands are going off to war to understand their mission. So I asked if I could please meet some of the other monastic mothers. Yerunda gave the blessing, and I was greeted by these wonderful women, and we shared our stories, and their stories were a lot like mine. Some of them also had military background. Some of them were familiar with the monastic lifestyle. It wasn't such a big transition. But it wasn't until I saw my son at the airport for the first time. Hadn't seen him in a few years. And I saw a man glowing, shining, under this black cap with a beard and his robes, his own uniform. I was overwhelmed. I can't express the feeling. I felt a joy and an honor at that time. He came with me and we visited several monasteries in Greece, female monasteries. And it was a beautiful blessing because at that time some of his brothers were there, so I got to meet some of the other monks from his monastery. The mothers also joined us. They had never done this before. And they lived minutes from each other, and they had never met each other. But we unified on that trip. And then Yerunda arranged for a boat to take us out to where his monastery is and to tour part of the coast of Athos. I came very close, and I joke with my son, the waters were rough that day. So the Yerunda was coming out with some of the other fathers with some relics, and they told the boat to come closer, come closer. And they said, this is the first time women were ever this close to Mount Athos. And I said, Panagia, my new Simbethera, my mother, wanted us to come close. So I will tell you, this journey has opened my heart, my husband's heart, the heart of my entire family. Anyone that knows my son and our family, our community, I'm very involved with all the churches in South Florida, very active. So I bring to them their handicrafts, a little bit of Mount Athos. It makes me feel like I can support them that way. And we go to the festivals, and people come, and they want to see what these things are. And they think that they're coming to talk about the soap or the livani, but then they find something so rich and so powerful that before you know it, there's a crowd around my table, and the priest is there answering questions. I'm not there to convert anybody. I'm there to share the beauty that I have been able to experience, along with all the other monastic moms and my family. And now I get to continue sharing it with the help of MAFA, and I'm so grateful that I got to meet Chris Mellon and share this journey, and then to continue to do so. So I thank you very much. That is my story, and it continues to this day with a great blessing from God and Panagia herself.
Thank you very much, Anna, for sharing that with all of us. It's a perspective I think maybe we don't hear enough. And also, I'm really glad that you mentioned that you were coming from South Florida, because it reminds us we are here today from all over this country, not just from Boston or New England, not only from this country, but from Greece, from the Holy Mountain. So it makes us realize the importance of the Holy Mountain worldwide. That's an important part of the mission of this foundation and of the Mount Athos Center, to enhance this understanding. I mentioned when I had you stand, Lee, that I'd like to give you a few minutes at the podium too, if you would. Would you come forward? I was looking for you.
I know.
Over there. Sorry.
Your Eminence, Graces,
Deans of Holy Cross and Hellenic College, Pater Lucas, Mount Athos Foundation, I thank you for the scholarship you provided to help make this journey possible for me to go to Mount Athos. In August of this year, I had the fantastic opportunity to spend nearly a month on the Holy Mountain. My cell was at the monastery of Xenophontos, while I visited monasteries and skeets to the left and right as far as Keres and the home of Saint Paisios. What I learned and the experiences I had are my own. Many pilgrims come to the Holy Mountain, so there are many experiences. This afternoon, I want to share with you some of what I learned and experienced. What I experienced was a kind of spiritual freedom within the bounds of our Orthodox tradition. I did not feel forced, coerced, or manipulated in any way. I was not made to feel guilty, nor was I shamed. I did not feel judged or that people were watching me, although I knew very well that they were aware of me. For the first time, I was in a place where I felt free and where God could meet me where I was. I want to repeat. For the first time, I was in a place where I felt free and where God could meet me where I was. The liturgical cycle of the monastic life is relentless and demanding. The day started at 4 a.m., and by the end of the day, we had gone through the entire liturgical cycle, beginning with the midnight service and ending with Vespers, while also including daily paracleses. In between these services was a life not unlike going to work. Each person had what they needed to do for that day. Life, by and large, is rather mundane. But in this space, I realized so many things about myself, and the contrast between my experiences in the world compared to what I was experiencing now were more profound. The most profound realization came about because I felt no pressure or judgment. No one was telling me to go to chapel. No one was dictating to me or making me feel that I needed to go to everything. I still felt agitation and resistance. I still felt personal convictions concerning my spiritual life. I had all this time without competing agendas to pray and worship, and still, at times, I felt resistance within myself. And now, because I could not blame anyone else, because no one was doing anything to me, I had the opportunity to deal with myself. I realized that the problem was my own, that this struggle was within me, and now I could see it more clearly. Little by little was something that I heard a lot in the monastery. Try, but don't try too hard. Force yourself a little, but not too much. There was an awareness that everyone is at a different place in their spiritual journey. We are all not the same, yet we are called to conform to the same basic principles, willingly. But this process of formation is not a forced march to the eschaton. I never felt forced, nor was I made to feel guilty. Even when dealing with my own resistance, I did not feel guilty or condemned. I only felt cared for. I felt an awareness without condemnation. I realized I had a long way to go to meet the perfection God calls us to in His Son. But without feeling burdened, trapped, condemned, or enslaved. This is what I call unforced spirituality. We cannot institutionalize spiritual formation. It can only be nurtured and encouraged, but never with coercion or force. The laws and principles of spiritual formation have been given to us, not that we have created them. We only need to discover them, to become aware of them, and then apply ourselves. What I saw and experienced was willing conformity to a way of life while allowing God to meet us where we are and going at a pace that was best for each person. I felt cared for and encouraged to take the next step without feeling judged, controlled, or manipulated. But this was no utopia. It was not void of struggles, hostilities, aggravations, or differences of opinion. Conflicts between people do exist, and things are not always perfect. But one thing is undeniable. The commonality we all shared was the struggle to be more like Christ. And we all partook of the body and blood together, thus binding us to our compassionate Lord, whom we proclaim and whose example we try to follow. The Holy Mountain gave me the experience of internal peace, the space to meet God where I was, and the encouragement to dare to love others in the same way. Amen.
Thank you, Lee. I can see that that scholarship was well given. It has been a wonderful opening for us today, and I can't say how honored we are by the presence of Your Eminence here with us today, and all of Your Graces who are here for the Synod. Your Eminence, may I ask you to come to the podium and, should we say, give us a send-off so we can understand and appreciate our exhibit?
Thank you. Your Eminence, Metropolitan Savas of Pittsburgh, Your Graces, dear President Kantonis, Honorable Simeon Tegos, Consul General of Greece in Boston, esteemed members of the Mount Athos Foundation, esteemed members of the Mount Athos Center joining us via live stream, as well as Director Anastasios Douros, beloved Father Lucas of Xenophontos Monastery representing the Holy Community of Athos, brothers and sisters in Christ. What a joy and honor is to be with all of you today at this auspicious opening of the exhibition Aion Όρος, η Κιβωτός της Ορθοδοξίας, Mount Athos, the Ark of Orthodoxy. As I consider what is happening in New York at the St. Nicholas National Shrine Orthodox Church, where our dear Father Lucas, who is with us today, is installing a complete iconographic program, the first ever such total installation of an Athonite aesthetic in America, I am filled with much emotion for this exhibition. Mount Athos, the so-called Perivoli της Παναγίας, Panagia's Garden. Mount Athos is a unique manifestation of the Church in the world. For over 1,000 years, the fathers of the Holy Mountain have labored in the deepest ways to connect with God. as well as to connect with one another. And although they have left the world, they are bound with it as its most fervent intercessors. This magnificent peninsula of Mount Athos, crowned by the summit of the mountain, this place embodies the living and fragrant tradition of the Holy Spirit that first blossomed in the deserts of Scythia, Palestine, and Cappadocia. The Holy Mountain's unbroken history of more than a millennium is a sign from God. Is a sign from God that the essential teachings and doctrines of our church are as unchanging as the life of the holy brethren who inhabit this garden of the Panagia. So often in our everyday world, we pour out praise and adulation for those explorers of our physical world, especially for astronauts who venture the outer space. But we must not forget those who explore the spiritual world, the inner space of the human heart and of the human soul. As such, I would name the fathers of the Holy Mountain to be psychonauts, or navigators of the soul. The laboratories of their experience are based in the great 20 ruling monasteries, some imperial, but all patriarchal and stavropigial, falling under the spiritual jurisdiction and the protection of the ecumenical patriarchate. The ecumenicity of the Holy Mountain is accentuated by the presence of Serbian, Bulgarian, and Russian monasteries among these 20, as well as with the great Romanian Scythia of the Prodromos, a special and historical relationship with Ukraine, and the presence of monastics on the mountain from virtually all over the world. Mount Athos is truly the Ark of Orthodoxy. The Ark holding within itself all the elements of the spiritual life that can be lived by every human being in the world who is willing to delve in the depths of their own souls. This exhibition, which features all 20 monasteries, is a wonderful introduction to their spiritual, cultural, and human values. Not everyone can go to Mount Athos because it possesses the Avaton. We just heard a mother who came this close to enter Athos. This is the Avaton, is the seal of its monastic discipline. And even less will ever have the opportunity to go to Athos. But the wisdom and the experience of the Holy Mountain can be brought into the world by such exhibitions as this, and by inviting these monastic traditions into our hearts and into our minds, by reading the great spiritual texts that are preserved there on Mount Athos, and by cultivating the arts of Athos in the New World. This is precisely what Father Lucas Xenofondinos is doing today at Ground Zero in the adornment of St. Nicholas National Shrine. I would like to express my profound thanks to Mount Athos Foundation of America and to Mount Athos Center of Thessaloniki, the so-called Agioritiki Estia, for making this exhibition possible. You have enriched our precious scholi by your generosity, and I hope and pray that many, and not only Orthodox Christians, will come to Maliotis Cultural Center to drink deeply from this experience, which holds up the mirror of our hearts and of our minds to the brilliant lamp that is the Holy Mountain, the Panagia's Garden, o Perivoli της Παναγίας. Thank you.
Thank you for those words, Your Eminence. I hope now you will all follow what he has suggested. Take some time to enjoy the exhibit. You can start from either end. You will see interspersed among the panels about the various monasteries, special panels on subjects like the spiritual life of Mount Athos, the art, the history. So take your time. But remember, I started to say it in Greek, Allah. Otanakuis to semantron treche. And we will all gather then afterward downstairs in the atrium for our banquet. Thank you all.